Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I titled this message, You Give Him Every Reason. You give him every reason. And this particular message is dedicated to those women who are upset. I get it. You're angry. You're confused. You've been used. You have been abused. But you give that man every reason to record everything you say that he feels is hurtful, disrespectful, a charge against him. You give him every reason to want to come up with some type of plan to pay you back. You give him every reason to use Satan, spells, charms, whatever he can get to bring you down. You give him every reason because you want to operate out of the flesh rather than out of the spirit. I didn't see this at the time when the mothers were talking to me about the trouble that I had gotten myself into, dealing with a man who was the type that was going to pay you back sooner or later for every little criticism, comment, feedback, suggestion. I didn't want to listen to the mothers who said, stand down, keep your mouth closed, and just watch the movie. He's going to hang himself. I didn't want to listen to wise counselors to pay attention to the writing on the wall because I thought that I had it going on and that I was better than the last woman or women. You see, the reason why some men got the upper hand on some women isn't because they're so special, so smart. It is because you give him ammunition to use against you because you won't stand down. During the times when God tells you to simply sit back. I have this. I got this. I'm going to deal with this. So he has the upper hand. He shows up. He talks with the lawyer, the counselor, the therapist, whoever, and he has something on you. He then goes and he says, you see, she's crazy. You see, she's a nut job. I told you that there was something about her that wasn't right. You thought she was cool and nice and all of that. See, and he's got the video, he's got the recording, he's got the letter, the text, whatever. In order to get the upper hand on any situation, you got to be the one that sits back and now you got to collect your pieces to the puzzle. You've got to be the one that has the proof. You've got to be the one that's cool, calm, and collected. Sometimes you've got to mirror the way they act. If they are acting very mature and they have it all together, you've got to be that way too. I know it's upsetting on the inside to know that this fool, once again, done lied, cheated, creeped. I know that you have spent years of dealing with him who doesn't like to communicate, who doesn't like to talk too much, who has every issue with everyone else but himself. I know that sometimes you're that one that feels like he is the liar, right? The manipulator, the whatever he might be. Then you might find out that lo and behold, he happened to tell the truth that one time, or he happened to be the decent man or something along those lines. And then you felt guilty. But then sooner or later, you did end up catching him in a thing or two that left you disturbed. Yes, I am validating those individuals that have gone through much, but I'm also saying that you're giving him every reason to want to walk out the door. You're giving him every reason to want to fight for the children. You're giving him every reason to want to talk about you to the mother, the sister, the brother, or whoever. You're giving him these reasons because guess what? You, once again, don't have an understanding as to how to exercise self-control. I was there. I was there when I found out that not only was there one woman, but there were many women in one particular situation, and he decided at times to go off and have his little fun with these other women when he didn't like what was happening at home. I could have rejected him that night. I could have been that one that sat up there and didn't feel like cooking or didn't want to organize, or maybe I just said something that offended him in some way. And so he used the negativity as an excuse to go out and do what he wanted to do. Had I just been that one that as soon as I saw that there was disrespect, had enough self-esteem, yes, self-esteem, had enough self-esteem to walk away from the situation and check out maybe another brother back in the day, then he wouldn't have had the upper hand on me. But when he saw that I was weak, when he saw that I was desperate, when he saw that there was nobody else around, when he saw that I was lonely, when I gave him too much information about my personal life, that is when he felt like he had the upper hand on me and he could move me in whatever direction he wanted to move me. Had my nose wide open, had my eyes blinded, and I was walking around in love with somebody who wasn't in love with me. Instead, he was connected, if you will, with the material that he could get from me. Am I speaking someone's truth? And so when you give a man or any woman too, because some folks are in those relationships, when you give them that type of information that they feel that they can use against you, that is when all you know what breaks loose. That's when the next thing you know, you're dealing with somebody who got far more from you than they're ever willing to invest in you, give back. You don't get much of an ROI dealing with a person who doesn't really love, but they lust. You don't get much back from a person who has a history of breaking other women's hearts and having babies with this one and that one. I mean, God shows us the brokenness of people if we're willing to see the truth for what it is. But as I've said in many audio, we don't want to see the truth because we just want our fleshly needs met in the now. The woman many years ago who confided in my mother and said that she was on a dating site looking for some men that would be willing to help her with her bills. She was bold. I mean, we couldn't be mad at her for speaking the truth, but what we could be a bit judgmental about was the fact that, is that all you want? I mean, an individual told me recently, I'm not going to judge when I start dating these people. I'm just not going to do that. But I'm telling you that your life is at stake. And if you don't have some type of judgment going on, you just might end up being the one who's judged later on, and not in a fair and righteous way. Instead, he's judging you on how much he can get from you. He's making a plan, just as the woman who was making her plan on what she was going to get from a man. Okay? And so when you got people who give you every reason not to be with them, then you are to get away from them, not stick it out, not give them the pass, not talk about, well, I only treat people the way I want to be treated. No, this is your life. And some people, it's not just about their lives, but it's about those children that they end up allowing to connect with as well. Okay? There's the man who shows up in one's life and she says, I'm not going to judge. I'm going to be laid back and cool about this thing, even though she sees that there is lipstick and notes and a phone, and that phone has text on it from other women. But, oh, well, you know, I'm just going to just be cool and just let it go. Excuse me. But didn't he say he wanted a committed relationship? And he's giving you all the reasons in the world that that's not what he's after. When folks, for instance, have children between one another, and you got this attitude that's going on, You got this woman who's sitting up there and she's freaking out, or maybe it's the man who's freaking out, the father or mother of the child. And rather than just be the diplomatic one, self-controlled, acting as if there's cameras all around the room, you decide to go there. You decide to feed off the energy. You can't say that, oh, well, I'm okay. I'm all right. I got it together. You just freaked out the other day. You can't point the finger at somebody when you're just as guilty. It's like the kettle talking about the pot. You see, but those that are self-righteous, those that think that they are better than everyone else, that's what they do. They'll sit up there and they'll do everything wrong while they don't consider the fact that some of what they did is contributing to why now that person has every reason to exit, have every reason to go for full custody, have every reason to want to plaster your face here, there, and everywhere with a meme or two. Look, I want you to be proactive, those of you all, in what's happening with some of these relationships, connections, business partnerships, or what have you. I don't want you to be the one that's sitting off in the corner somewhere, just dismissing everything, or being like the one who started back to dating, talking about, I'm not going to judge, I'm just going to be this, that, and the other. Look, once again, we got lives at stake. We got people who are naive in the kingdom, and they don't want to believe that bad things can happen to them. Because I got God. Well, God has opened up some people's eyes and showed them that you are putting yourself in a position where a person got every reason in the world to belittle you, disrespect you, torture you, confuse you, do all sorts of things because you refuse to see the truth for what it is. So today, the blinders come off for some of you all. You're going to take a look at the associations that you recently connected with. You're going to write that list down of the pros and the cons. You're going to pray in Jesus' mighty name, and you're going to ask the Lord for further direction, insight, wise counselors around you to get you out of these poor connections. And I'm telling you, when you do that, you will begin to see the scales off of eyes fall off. You will begin to see the truth for what it is. You will no longer be that tail, but you will be the head. And I tell you that God, when He just convicted my spirit over the years concerning various people, I felt so much strength. I felt like I could face another day. I felt like I could get things accomplished now that I was slowly but surely distancing myself away from them. I found that I was not giving them every reason to want to fight up against me because, hey, if you don't give them a fight and you're not around for the fight, who they going to fight with? The narcissist is going to find new supply and fight with somebody else, especially the twisted, demented narcissist who has no type of compass when it comes to evil or good. He or she going to find new supply to torture. He or she going to find new supply to just cause all sorts of emotional torment. And I mean, I was sad that some of those folks went through what they went through, but they should have believed folks when they warned them about the self-absorbed, self-centered, egoist types of people that's out here. I mean, it's all over the place. And yes, at times we can be just as guilty as they. But the key, though, here, the takeaway from this message is not to be that individual who is giving another individual ammunition to use against you, especially when it's in your power to control. Okay? It's in my power to control my mouth. It's in my power to control where my feet go. It's in my power to control a situation before it blows, out of control simply by not even being there. Because see, sometimes God will move on our spirits not to even be in the presence of a person. Nope, sorry, I need a third party for the co-parenting arrangement. Okay. No, sorry, I will not be present for that particular meeting. That's why I'm sending the lawyer. No, I will not be a part of that particular special events, family, holiday celebration, what have you. I pay good money to separate myself. You see, you got to be that one that's not giving the demonic any reason to entrap you, ensnare you, put you on that emotional roller coaster all over again. So thank you for listening. May God richly bless you as well as those that you love.